Hey guys, thank you all for zooming in or calling in for week 3 of our kind of summer sprint. Just so Ciji, you're kind of caught up to pace about this group. We are super, super fired up just really to have some people that are raising their hand and saying, I'm in, I want to go fast. I want to create executives. I really want to go executive. And they're really all just trying to rank advance either by the reset or definitely by celebration. And so this 8 week really is leading us all the way up to celebration. So everybody's kind of hitting their goals and they're just people that are refusing to take their foot off the gas. They're just going to build through the summer. They have massive momentum, huge whys, huge goals, and just super, super fired up. And I decided that for the next 8 weeks, we were going to spoil them with an amazing, amazing elite leader, someone who has, been through the trenches, is inspiring, is fun, and can just kind of give these rock stars some golden nuggets on their journey to success. And you guys, tonight, I have the complete privilege and honor to introduce to you guys Ciji Siddons. Some of you may know her. She is an Isagenix millionaire. She's been interviewed on Jeffrey Combs' podcast before. She is also a START ambassador. Some of you may have seen her train at ICU in Chicago. I saw her train in ICU, Washington, D.C. She is just absolutely passionate about this opportunity. She was introduced to Isagenix a few years ago. She has a background in nutrition, but she was actually a bartender, someone who was exchanging time for money and overworked and underpaid and burnt out. And I'm going to let her share her story with you. But because of this amazing vehicle, she has one of the biggest and fastest growing teams in the entire company. They've created many, many leaders. She has duplicated herself and really is truly walking the talk of financial freedom. So, Ciji, are you there?
I'm here, and I'm so sorry you can't see me. I tried to get on my phone too, and I still can't figure it out. But I'm here. Thank you for that nice
introduction. You guys just have to look at her picture in our group and see how absolutely stunning and gorgeous she is.
I probably look way better in that picture than I do right now, so I'll take it.
Well, I would love, Ciji, if you could just open up the call, just sharing with everybody your story, like your journey, kind of what life was like before Isagenix, how it was introduced to you, and really when you made that decision, when you made that commitment to really just go for it, what kind of shifted inside of you and what were the immediate things that you did that got you just into massive, massive action?
Of course. So I was introduced to Isagenix almost exactly 6 years ago. I guess at this point, probably like 6 years and 2 months ago. And it was just for the products. I used to bartend with Tara Romano, who I'm sure a lot of people know. She's amazing. She's an Isagenix millionaire now. But at the time, we were two Jersey Shore bartenders, and she also worked at the gym that I went to. So I knew she had a background in fitness and nutrition, and I was lazy and didn't want to have to make breakfast. So I had just asked her one day when we were behind the bar, hey, what's a good protein shake? And she insisted I get on the phone with her sister. So after really pushing me, because I thought it was really weird that I should have to talk to anybody to get a brand name, I got on the phone with her sister. They basically said, you need to try this 30-day program. You're going to love it. You're going to feel amazing. And because I was just really easygoing, I was like, okay, I'm in, take my credit card, my social, whatever. I'll give it a try. And it was around week 3 that I remember calling up Tara, and her sister is Alexis Romano, who's just absolutely amazing. And I said, okay, this is great. I feel amazing, but let's be real. What happens after? People can't actually drink shakes and cleanse for the rest of their life, right? And I remember Alexis saying to me, if you feel amazing, why would you ever stop? And I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. So it was really that day, 3 weeks into my program, that I made the decision that the products were going to be a non-negotiable part of my life. That being said, I knew there was an opportunity to get my products paid for. It all just seemed kind of weird to me, and I didn't have a big network. I certainly didn't have a lot of people who cared what I had to say that much. So I didn't really take an active interest in it. At the time, I was 26 years old. I was waitressing and bartending in Seaside Heights, New Jersey. And our claim to fame was that was where they filmed that show, The Jersey Shore. So it was right on our boardwalk. And I had a bunch of college degrees. I had 2 associate's degrees and my bachelor's degree in advertising and marketing. And I really felt like eventually I would get a 9-to-5 job with, all the things that go with it. But I grew up with a dad who always said, find what you love to do and find a way to get paid for it. And that for me was a blessing, because I felt like I had this amazing father who truly lived that every single day. He was an educator, and I never once in my life heard him say, I don't want to go to work today. So I had this great example, but I also struggled because I felt like there are so many things I love to do, and having a job does not fall within like that realm of things I love. I can't imagine finding something I can love as much as like my younger self loved playing sports or going to the beach or anything like that. So I just kept waitressing and bartending, thinking like eventually I'll figure this out. And every once in a while I would send a resume and I would cross my fingers that nobody called me, because my biggest fear in life at that point was having to work a 9-to-5 job with a boss and a commute and an alarm clock and all things that just didn't make sense. I didn't understand how I could literally sell my soul for the next 40 or 50 years or whatever the case was. So 2 years after I started using Isagenix, I talked about it all the time. I had no interest again though in the business because I didn't understand it. I just knew I loved the products, and that's when I made the decision to go to grad school. And I honestly studied nutrition education because I fell in love with Isagenix and really how much I learned through just using the products, because I was the product user who went through my back office and read everything I could about these products, and I wanted to understand why they work. So I went to grad school and I figured, honestly, if I can buy myself 2 years to figure out what's next for me, I love nutrition. Maybe I'll find a job that I can be really excited about in nutrition. That's what my plan looked like. But I also realized I couldn't put in 70 or 80 hours behind the bar anymore and be a full-time grad student. So I knew that I had to supplement something somewhere. And I knew that these products were not going to be a negotiation for me. I wasn't willing to really like play with my order basket because I ordered a lot of stuff. And that's when I reached out to Tara and Alexis and I said, okay, I know you guys have said to me several times before, there's an opportunity here and I can get my products paid for. How do I do that? What does that look like? Because if I can earn $400 a month, that's going to be huge for me. That basically pays for my products. And I'll never forget Alexis responding and saying, like, you can definitely make $400 a week. And I was like, is she crazy? Like $400 a week, that's insane. I only want $400 a month. Like $400 a week seems absolutely impossible. But she also said to me, there's an Isagenix University coming up and you need to be at it. And I thought, that's really aggressive because I waitress and bartend on the weekends. You want me to take off of work and you're asking me to miss school, like to get my products paid for? But again, I didn't understand anything about network marketing and I didn't understand it was a choice. And I was just very coachable. And if Alexis said, this is what you have to do, I was going to do it. And so I went to Isagenix University. It was probably 4 months after I had started working toward getting my products paid for. And I'll never forget sitting at this luncheon with a bunch of people in Isagenix. Tara and Alexis were both there. And Doctors Glenn and Ina Nozak were sitting at the same table. They're from actually the same town. I'm from Toms River, New Jersey. And I was so in awe of sitting at the lunch table with these Isagenix millionaires who in my eyes were just like so amazing. And I still think they're so amazing. And they were on the website and I was so starstruck. And people started standing up and making their declaration of where they were going to be in their business in the next like 6 months, 12 months, 2 years. And that was such a huge light bulb moment for me because that's when I looked at Tara and Alexis and I said, wait a minute, this is real and I can do this and I don't have to get a job and I can finish school and like this can pay my bills for me. And they both kind of rolled their eyes and they were like, well, yeah, duh, like why do you think we're here? But up until that point, I didn't understand what we were doing. I just understood like I want my products for free, so let's do that. So that was my big light bulb moment. And I would like to say that it happened really quickly after that, but about a year later, I was still pretty much in the same place I was when I went to that initial event. So it really was a process and a journey, and it was so far from get rich quick. And I just always want people to know, like, there were challenging moments. There were definitely, if you ask Tara, there were tears, there were struggles that we went through. I was so fortunate to go through it with someone who truly has become my best friend, but it was worth every ounce of struggle and turmoil and all of the things that go with it. I'll never forget being in the business like 14 months and my business wasn't really growing and I was struggling. And I always say I was doing it through like clenched fists and gritted teeth. And Tara called me one day, I was in a spin class and she was like freaking out. And she said, oh my God, are you sitting down? Kathy Coover just called me. I just got a $17,000 bonus. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is my best friend. This is someone that I bartended with for years. And she just made I think it was 17,000. It may have been 14. I really don't know. But in that realm. And I was like, this is a regular person. This is someone I know. This isn't just a random person on the website. And again, that for me was huge because it wasn't like, I'm so jealous Tara's getting this. I'm like, oh my goodness, like this is somebody I know. And if she can do this, I can do this too. And my business kind of slowly started to grow after that, but it was a chain of events that led me to that point, and it was not quitting all the times that quitting kind of went through my head. So I don't know if that answers your question or it just kind of goes off on a tangent, but that's kind of my journey, or a little snippet of it.
Oh my gosh, that's good. And I'm sure people are already like fired up. And I love that you shared the part that it wasn't like anything with like envy or jealousy about that money. It just was like someone you knew. It wasn't some random person in a catalog or some story that was like the person you knew. Because I've always, shared what I'm sure you share with people, that Isagenix is real people doing extraordinary things. And that's how I felt, like when Cindy, it's like, oh my gosh, I actually know that person. So I like that you shared that. So when you kind of then made that decision and you knew that you were not just going to get your products paid for and that $400 a week was incredibly attainable, what were some of the very first things that Alexis taught you or Tara taught you, or that you would say were catalysts in your success? Like, what were some of the income producing activities or things you did to work on yourself that really helped you kind of catapult to the top?
Yeah. So, excuse me. I said this, I think at ICU Chicago, but I really mean it. Like, I'm one of the most coachable people I know. If Alexis still tells me to go stand in traffic because it's going to help me build my business, I'm going to go stand in traffic. And that's exactly the mindset that I came into this with. I don't know anything about network marketing. I don't know what I'm doing, but here's this person who I had no idea what her rank was, or I think she was a 1-star at the time, which at the time meant nothing to me because I didn't understand anything, but I knew she was going somewhere. And I knew I wanted to go too. So I was willing to do whatever she told me to do. So she said, you have to make your list. You have to reach out to your list. You have to set up 3-way calls. So that's exactly what I did. And I still have looked at like my very first list. And there's a lot of people that still haven't joined me. There's people who have joined me and have fallen off. And there's a couple people that have joined me and are still here. But I did that. I went to work on my list. I had my list. I started reaching out to people and I started setting up 3-way calls. And I'll never forget the very first 3-way call I did. Alexa sent me the sheet on like how to edify her. And I said to her, I don't know if I can do this. My palms were sweating. I felt like I was going to throw up on myself. I was so terrified. And she kept saying to me, like, you don't have to do anything except for edify me and mute your line. Like, that's your only job. But I was so intimidated and so scared to do it. But I really wanted my products paid for. And when we talk about like finding your why, like that was a significant enough why to go through like that sheer terror that I felt. And one of the things that Alexis always said to me as I was going through these experiences where I thought, I was paralyzed with fear, she said, you're not going to die. If I told you you were going to die from setting up a 3-way call, like I could understand why you're reacting this way, but you're not going to die. So just do it. And I just did it. And I got people on the phone with her because I didn't know how to present the information. I didn't have any idea what was going on. So if she told me to get them on the phone with her, I got them on the phone with her. When she told me you have to go to this event, I went to this event. It was like over a year into building my business when New Year's kickoff came around, and Hurricane Sandy had just hit New Jersey. The bar that I worked at we didn't even know if it was still standing because we couldn't get back over to it. It was a really challenging time. I would say for the country and certainly for the area that I was from. And I remember vividly sitting on the floor, texting Alexa saying, it was November, right after the hurricane. And I said, I want to go to New Year's kickoff, but I don't think I'm making enough money to be there. And she wrote back to me and capital letters, I could still see it in my mind. That's exactly why you go. And I had no money. I was so broke, I couldn't afford the plane ticket. And I remember right after that, I called my dad and I said, listen, I know what I want for Christmas. And I was fortunate at 28 years old. I still got Christmas presents. I said, I want a plane ticket. I want to go to Arizona for this event and I want a plane ticket. And he bought my plane ticket for me because I couldn't afford it on my own. Here I was finishing grad school with a degree that qualified me for absolutely nothing. I had just failed my comp exam. So like, I didn't even know if I was going to graduate, which thankfully I passed later on. And I had a job that we didn't even know if it was still standing. So things were not going well. But I went to New Year's kickoff because Alexis told me you have to be there. So if I could give any advice, it's to listen to Lauren, because Lauren is, I would assume, kind of like everybody's Alexis was to me. And I always knew, even if it was uncomfortable, even if it was scary, even if it was challenging, even if I didn't know how it was going to work out, Alexis always had my best future in mind. And everything she recommended for me to do was because it was important for me to go through that process. And we always say, like, and I never use the words like upline, downline, crossline, but whoever is guiding you in this business has your best interest at heart. So be egoless and coachable and willing to just leave it all at the door and do whatever that person is telling you to do because they want you to succeed as much or even more so as they want to succeed. So I got on Facebook. You asked what we did. Like, I had no idea what I was doing on Facebook. I verbally vomited everything. I turned everybody in my life off. My brother would text me and was like, what is going on with you? You went from being like this cynical, sarcastic bartender to telling me I'm digging my grave with a knife and fork. But we didn't have a system, and I was doing the best I could with what I was doing. And the most important thing I always say is I was taking action. It might not have been the best action. It might not have been the most appropriate action, but it was action. And I think so often right now people are in this like get ready phase, trying to make everything perfect, where, yeah, I can look back on some of the messages I sent people and want to vomit because they're so ridiculous. But I can always say, like, at least I did it. I was constantly in action. And even though some of the messages were terrible, some people still signed up. So it was just always being in action. Again, even if it wasn't like the best action or the most well put together action. Action is what gets us paid. It's the income producing activities. We can listen to podcasts and great trainings and get jacked up. But if we're not taking the action on all the things we hear, then it's all for nothing.
I love what you were saying, to be egoless and coachable. I've said this over and over to my team. Janny could have told me to make snow angels in a blizzard, and like I would have done it. But the key that you guys, what she's saying is that it has nothing to do, like she knew Alexis was telling her what to do for Ciji's success, not her own. And like I knew that about Janny. Like she really did care about my success, that like we're suggesting to do things. It's really because you have this kind of lens of what's coming or what's ahead, and we do have your best interests at heart, and that's why we're doing those things. So I really love that you said that. I think that's so important. I know that your team is absolutely remarkable at getting people to events. I would say every event I've ever been to, like when you hear Alexis' name go, or yours or Tara's, like 50% of the audience goes like haywire, which is such a testament of you guys getting people to events. What would be like one or two golden nuggets that you have for these ladies and gentlemen who are going, but more so on how they can get others there? Like we talk about building from event to event, and a lot of them are consistently going, but not necessarily getting their team there.
That's such a great question. And I totally get it, because I went to my first, I think like 2 or 3 celebrations by myself. I went to New Year's kickoff by myself. My first 2 ICUs had no team. So like, that's always the first thing I say is like, make sure you're doing exactly what you want other people to do. And then what we do, what I think just really works well, is we plug people into the culture right away. And we create this culture of like, if you're not there, you're missing out. And I always say to people, like, someone who has the exact same circumstances as you is going to be at celebration. And of course, like, there are things like my sister's having a baby over celebration. She's not coming. We tried to get my brother to drive her, but she'll be in birth. So there's no way it's going to happen. So obviously things happen. Some people can't make it. But I always I just try to help them see, like, someone with your circumstances is going to be there and their business is going to change. And I remember hearing Drew Berman talk about it, and it was so powerful. He said, like, this is our Super Bowl celebration, New Year's kickoff. Like, these events are our Super Bowl. And do you think that some team that's in the Super Bowl, some player on that team is going to call their coach and say, like, I'm going to miss the Super Bowl because I have a barbecue. I'm going to miss the Super Bowl because I have a wedding. I missed my cousin's wedding last year for celebration. And I very easily could have said, you know what? Like, I've maxed out the compensation plan. I can skip this event. It's not a big deal. But there was no way I was going to miss the event, because 1, I know my team is going to do exactly what I do. 2, I want my business to keep growing. And I know that I have to be at every single event in order to make that happen. And I think what we've done is we've really created a culture where if you're not there, you're missing out. And I heard Hayden Favre say it at ICU New Jersey. He said, if you're not going to corporate events, you're not really building a business. And I let people know from the beginning, when I'm really working with them, is this is what you can expect from me. I'm here to do 3-way calls with you. I want to do a launch party with you. I want to guide you. I want to help you. This is what I'm looking for from you. And there's a level of commitment. So are you willing to follow the systems? Are you willing to plug into the training calls? What's the next event you're going to be at? Because I can only meet you where you're going to be. I can't run with you if you just want to walk. So I'm really clear with people on that from the beginning. And if someone is unwilling to go to the big events, I love them where they are, but I'm very selective about where I spend my time. And again, I really think it comes down to the culture we've created as a team, and like the massive FOMO that happens when someone is watching it on Facebook, because we all have that person who says they're not coming to celebration, and then they watch the excitement happening on Facebook. Even if they're not live streaming it, they see it, and we're constantly shouting people out in the group. So every time something is happening at celebration, it's being blasted in our Facebook groups. I always get the messages from people saying, I wish that I was there. I will never make that mistake again. So it's just helping people see that you don't want that to be you, and helping them. I buy a ton of tickets for celebration. The second they're announced, I don't just buy a ticket for myself. I always buy extra. And then I don't just give them to people. I always will do contests with them, so that way people can win them. It's another just great way to kind of get people excited about going. I've never paid for anybody to go to an event. It's just not what I do. But I give out the tickets for the people who really deserve them, because I've seen that, like, if someone, sometimes it's just winning that free ticket, that's everything for somebody. And for me, it's an investment in my business. I feel like it makes sense for me to buy extra tickets, because even right now, like, I still have a couple of celebrations going to sell out soon, and I know I'm going to constantly be bringing people in. So I think, like, the best way to answer it is really just creating a culture around events. Like, it's just an expectation that we have as a team, is that if you're in this business, you're coming, you're connected with people immediately. The second someone says yes, we put you into our culture. We connected with people who are in your area, or if you're a nurse, we connected with other nurses. If you're a teacher, we connected with other teachers. So that way you're constantly engulfed with people who are just like you, who are making it happen. So it kind of removes a lot of the excuses that may come up. Does that answer the question?
Yes, it's awesome. And I actually am writing down my own little nuggets over here of yours, like that you said, that I really, really, really like. I mean, you guys, I hope that you are writing some of this stuff down. I mean, what she's saying about meeting people where they're at, and that, you know, she can't run with you if you're going to walk, and laying out those expectations of not what she's going to do for you, but then also who merits her time. You know, what are those people going to bring to the table to really be into action and be committed, and how important that is. And I know my millionaire mentors, they don't work with people that don't go to events. You know, it's just, they're that important. And the training that you can get, in the culture, and the fun, and the belief. So I love that you're doing that. And I think you've just really, really helped a lot of these people understand the best way to get people to events. Ciji, I've heard you say from stage and just in conversations, you know, about how you really qualify people, and that you won't just get on the phone with anybody, and you don't want to drag people, and you're not going to try and, like, convince someone that isn't ready, both on the products and the business. I would love for you to elaborate a little bit on, like, what that means for you to, like, qualify someone and really decide if they merit a position in your organization.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think when we get started, and I certainly was guilty of this too, if someone has, like, a credit card and a social, like, and a pulse, they qualify for our business, because we just want it so badly in the beginning. I know for myself, like, I was willing to do anything. I didn't care if I had to put them on my back and drag them. Like, I wanted this to work. But what I realized over time was that I was spreading myself so thin that I wasn't creating time freedom. Number one, I was creating a job, and I was exhausting myself. And number two, I was working harder than everybody else that was raising their hand and saying they want to do it. And what I really learned from Alexis and through a coach that I worked with was the importance of qualifying people for our time. So it's as simple as having a series of questions. And if you've read Eric Worre's GoPro book, it's one of the ways we qualify people. So when we walk people through, like, how to get started in the business, one of the things I tell them is a non-negotiable is the book GoPro. You can get it in a book, you can get it in audio. It's such a quick, easy read, but it really breaks down network marketing, because I think, especially with Isagenix, the beauty that we have is that, like, we get such a visual product result that's so awesome. But at the same time, that means that a lot of us, myself included, are jumping into this business having no idea that it's an actual business and what has to go into it. So the book GoPro really helps break it down for people. If someone doesn't get that book, they're probably not that serious. We have people make a list. If someone doesn't make their list in 24 to 48 hours, I'm not going to beg them to make their list. I'm just going to let them know my door is open, and when they're ready to show up, I'm here. I always will ask someone, whether it's products or business, how serious are you? I know you're saying you want to lose 20 pounds. How serious are you about losing that 20 pounds on a scale of a 1 to a 10? If they're like a 3, it's okay. It's just not the right time for them, because what I've learned is dragging people on the products or dragging people on the business, it's no different. It's painful for both of us. So I would rather wait for that person to get themselves to a 10, because then they're willing to do anything that I say when it comes to the product or the business, versus they're a 3. And what I realize is I'm going to drag them. I'm going to hold on to them as tightly as I can, even when all of their actions are saying that they don't want to be here, I'm going to invest so much time into them, and then I'm going to be resentful when they do exactly what they wanted to do the whole time, which was quit. And I think that's what we caught up doing, is holding on to these people who their words say one thing, but we want to look at their actions and what do their actions say. And the longer we hold on to someone that doesn't want to be here, one, we're setting ourselves up for disappointment. And two, we're taking time really away from the people who have their hand up, who aren't making a lot of noise because they're in constant action. So that was a great way for me to really kind of understand, invest your time in the people who deserve it, not the people who need it. And then it's really having that conversation with people in the beginning. And again, it's Eric Worre has the question in his book, but saying to someone like, how much money would you like to earn in the next 6, 12, 1 year, 2 years? Where do you see yourself? Awesome. How much time are you willing to invest in your business to get yourself there? Because if someone tells me they want to earn 6 figures and they only want to work 2 hours a week, it's my responsibility to tell them, I can appreciate that, but your goals do not match your commitment. So something has to give there. And really just being upfront and honest with people. I'm really big too on making sure people understand this is not get rich quick. We're going to do a lot of work on the front end and not always see that immediate payoff, but it's the work on the back end that we really start to see it. And I always say the check we got, what day is it, Tuesday? So the check we got yesterday is not really last week's work. The check we got yesterday is, in my opinion, the work I did 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago that's really starting to duplicate. So helping people say yes, Isagenix is going to pay us through the PIBs and the rank advancement bonuses and all that front end money, but are you willing to work hard enough to get to the back end money to really watch your cycles grow? Are you really willing to invest this time? And it's having that conversation with no attachment to the outcome. I actually had it with someone today and I said, I'm not sure if this is for you. I'd recommend, and I gave her a podcast to listen to, I said, I'd recommend you really look at this and you go through GoPro and you decide if this is something you want to invest your time in, because if it's not going to be fun for you and it's not going to be fun for me. And I value our friendship too much to go through this struggle together. And I left it at that. I think it's being super comfortable if it's not right for somebody and being willing to say that. And sometimes just saying that is enough for someone to say no, I really do want this. And I realize that I have to kind of make some sacrifices somewhere to make it work, and helping them see that, in my opinion, there's no such thing as a sacrifice. I missed my cousin's wedding to go to Celebration. That's not a sacrifice to me because I've fallen in love with every little piece of this business. So hopefully that answers that question. I feel like I kind of go off a lot. So if you ever need to cut me off, feel free.
No, you're doing so good. It's awesome. So I know you were saying in the beginning of your story that for you to kind of start chatting with people, you love the products, but setting up a 3-way call, how you had heart palpitations. And I love that Alexa says, you're not going to die. I might also use that line. But how would you say that your skills as a connector have evolved in tips that you could share on ways for people to connect, whether it be on social media, whether it be in their warm market with friends and family, the cold market? I think we're always adding to our list and growing to our list. And a lot of people are great if people come to them and say, hey, what is it that you're doing? I want to know more. But what advice would you give for them as being the initiators and really just getting into that action and starting to chat with people?
You're such a great question asker, Lauren, because you really make me think. So I am probably one of the more introverted people that you'll ever meet. And I hear sometimes people are I'm so introverted. I'm are you really? Because I would rather sit by myself at home than be in big groups of people. And I knew from the beginning, the very first event I ever went to, I looked at Tara and Alexis and I said, this is great, but I don't want to have to talk to people. And Alexis said to me in that moment, this isn't going to work for you. And it took me probably another 6 months before I said I want to get my products paid for, because I was so terrified of having to talk to people. So I went through my first initial list. I think it was 19 people. And I remember reaching out to Alexis and saying, I've gone through everybody I know. What do I do now? I have nobody left to talk to. And she said, you can never run out of people to talk to because you're always expanding your network. So she told me, go on meetup.com. You want to go to networking events. I've used social media to really expand my network with people that I went to high school with, people I went to college with, people I had old jobs with, people I played sports with. And what I really started to do, probably over the last 6 months or so, that's really helped me, because again, I'm much more naturally introverted. So starting conversations is not my favorite thing to do. But something that the guy I've been coaching with recently taught me was going into all of these events thinking not what can I get from it, what can I give? What can I give to people? What is this person looking for? How can I give them the gift? If they're, whatever it is that's going on for them, going in and just asking a ton of questions about the other person, because one, eventually they're naturally going to ask about me. Two, it's going to create this connection with them where it almost creates, the best way I can explain it is like a raving fan. If you go up to somebody and all you're about is just giving, they're dying to give back to you in any way they can. So that's really helped me. And then at the same time, because I don't want to just pretend that like I don't reach out to people and have the conversation, I'm big on the compliment approach. So I say typically to someone, listen, like I met you at the gym and I loved your energy and you had such a great personality. I don't know if you have any idea what I do. I don't know if it's a fit for you, but I would love to talk to you more about it if it's something you're open to. And I can just broach it in that manner, but it's someone I'm really big on building the relationship first too. So it's not like I'm going to meet Lauren at the gym right this second, have no kind of understanding of who she is or what she's looking for, and then send that message. I'm really going to build a relationship. I'm going to ask her questions. I want to see if she's someone that I want to work with. I don't want to just assume that because she goes to the gym, she's someone that qualifies for my time. So I want to get to know her a little bit, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's in person, although I bring every single person I meet back to Facebook because we always say like once they're on our social media, they're kind of in our web. And it's a great way to see what's Lauren posting. Is she super pleasant in the gym and then like a miserable human being on Facebook? Because then I probably don't want to talk to her. But that's how I'll really broach the conversation is once I find some qualities that I like in her, or through asking her questions, I find out that she has a problem that I can solve. That's when I have the conversation versus just kind of spamming every single person I meet. And truly, I don't think that my approach is right. I think my approach is what works for me. Some people are really amazing prospectors, and my friend Scott can literally close every single person he meets in the first 5 minutes that like he talks to them. That is not me. I'm much better at building the relationship and having an ongoing conversation with them over a little bit more time. So I feel like whatever works for you is probably the best way to do it. But I found that the compliment approach really has been huge. And it's always a genuine compliment. Like if I love your bracelet, I'm going to tell you I love your bracelet. If I don't love your bracelet, I'm probably not going to bring that up. But it's just being real and authentic and letting people connect with who you are. And I've learned like that's this whole business is not being, there's no cookie cutter anything. And I think in the beginning, we have a lot of people asking us like, how do I do this? And what do I say to this? And what do you write back to this? And I was just on the phone with someone brand new on my team today who she said like, I want to send this inbox, but I want to make sure I say it perfectly. And I was like, well, good luck because perfect doesn't exist. I sent a lot of really imperfect messages to people that still turned out okay. And I'm actually speaking with someone tomorrow that I started talking to 4 years ago that reached out to me and said like, I am finally ready to do this. But she wasn't ready 4 years ago. So it wasn't about if I was going to say it differently. It was just about kind of meeting people where they are and the timing, but being willing to have the conversation and having no attachment. And probably the biggest breakthrough I ever had in my business that changed everything for me was, so it's such a simple statement, and it was something that I probably had to hear over and over and over again for about 18 months from Alexis, where she always would say to me, this is not about you. Because I always thought like, I can't talk about the business. I'm not making any money. How can I've been in the business for a year. I was making $500 a month. Yes, I was getting my products paid for, but at that point I had no other source of income as I had no idea if the bar I worked at was still standing. So I said, how can I ever talk to someone about this business opportunity? I'm not making any money. Or how could I ever talk to this fitness person because I'm not a fitness person? And she would like drill into my head, this is not about you. Stop making this about you. This is about this person and what they're looking for. And we have no idea what's going on behind closed doors for people. One of my really good friends at this point and an incredible couple on my team, you own the bar that I worked at in Seaside Heights that got hit by the hurricane. And I had kind of left that job and we had drifted a little bit. And I had no idea that after the hurricane, their beautiful family, 3 kids, big house, nice cars, were struggling so badly because tourism was shot in Seaside Heights for a good 2 years. I didn't know that they were struggling to the extent that they were. And I reached out to my friend Michelle's husband who owned the bar with Michelle. And I said, listen, I have no idea if this is for you. And I know we haven't talked in so long, but you're telling me you're going to networking events and you're doing all of this stuff. And I feel like you should really talk to me about what I'm doing. And I actually text Tara after I did that. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm so scared. I have no idea what they're going to say back to me. Like, I don't think they really like Isagenix, even though Tara and I both work there. And Tara said, good for you for reaching out anyway. And I'll never forget Jeff texting me back. And he said, Michelle wants you to come over this week. We want to talk to you about it. And what they did is not typical. They built a really significant business really, really quickly. But it was because they're everything depended on it. So we always say, like, we don't know what's going on behind closed doors. They're the most beautiful, perfect looking family you could ever see on the outside. But behind that, they were struggling so much financially. And if I made it about me and feeling like I wasn't making enough money or feeling like I didn't look the part enough, Isagenix wouldn't have saved their family. So I think that's just so important that when we can take ourselves out of the equation and talk to people and really find out like where their struggle is, where their pain points are, what's going on with them. We're just the vehicle to offer the solution. That's really all we are, is the vessel with the solution, and people can choose to take it or choose not to, but we don't have to have any kind of attachment to the outcome. We just offer the solution, and then we love them where they are. And I always hear Chris Nish say this in opportunity meetings: we present, you decide, we support. So if like someone says no to me, which people I think there's this misconception that like if you hit a certain level in Isagenix, people stop saying no to you. I wish that was true, but it's not. People still say no to me all the time, and I love them anyway because I know it's not about me. It's about them and where they're at right now.
Oh my gosh, Ciji, you are full of so much goodness over here. I have it written on my mirror for over a year. What if Janie Elo didn't call you? Because every day, like when I was getting like uncomfortable and stuff, I had to just remember like it wasn't about me. And I just think like what motivated her to call me, like what motivated her to link arms with me. And it was because she knew that, like she knew how differently my life could be and reached out. And you guys, that's like such a huge takeaway. And if you can just remember that over and over and over, what Isagenix does for other people. There's going to be scary calls and there's going to be people that say no, but they don't say no to you. It's just not ready. It's not for them. Some of you know this and some of you don't, but I had known of Isagenix for 4 years. My cousin tried to get me to do Isagenix for 4 years. And I've told people that if I, started talking to Janie a day before, a day after, like none of this would have been here, like none of it. It was just the exact divine time of everything happening in my life that I said, yeah, I'm going to do it, And so really, really listen to that and don't take that opportunity away from somebody on the judgment that you're posting on if they're a good fit or not, like you're just the messenger and let them decide. So I think that was absolutely fantastic, Ciji. Thank you so much. The last question I have for you, and then I'll just see if there's anything you wanted to add. If I know sometimes it stirs up thoughts or emotions if you're like, oh, I've got to make sure I say this before I get off. I think we talk a lot about duplication. And there's some great recruiters that are on here right now, but they're not creating consultants as fast as they want, or they don't necessarily have the business builders that they want. We talk about loving on your product users and, the 87.5% that are going to be product users, and that every month that they order, celebrate that. But they're really looking for those golden nuggets. Like, how do I create consultants? I really want to hit executive for the reset. What would be your, biggest suggestions for these people to be able to nail Crystal Executive or be able to create their own personally enrolled executives?
That's a great question, and I hope that you like my answer. I feel like you guys might not if you want me to be like, go out there and find business builders. The best advice Alexis gave me, I always say the best advice. She gave me so much great advice, right? But she said, like always, and she still says it to this day, was build a solid foundation, put people on the tree. Don't just look for business builders, because truly, if I look at my organization, my greatest, most successful people, my 5 stars and my 4 stars, are product users who had a really great experience. So I just feel like a rank is great if you hit it. It's really exciting. I get it. But the next day is going to come, and you want to make sure that that foundation is really solid. So really make sure that whatever you're doing, you're putting people on the tree who can fall in love with the products. I always say I would rather have a super jacked up, passionate product user than someone who has a massive network, because I can't teach the person with a massive network to fall in love with Isagenix and their products. But I can teach the person who loves the products how to follow systems, how to duplicate. I am not the best at anything when it comes to network marketing. I'm so happy to say that I'm not the best closer. I'm not the best presenter. I'm not the best at Facebook. What I'm really good at is following really simple systems and teaching them to other people. Because if I was the best closer, if I could just, like blow you away with how quickly I can close someone, that's awesome, but it's not duplicatable, right? Everything I want to do has to be duplicatable. So it's not about being the best or being a rock star. It's about teaching people how to do exactly what I do. I can't teach people just to be a rock star closer, which I'm not, but I can teach them. These are the questions I typically ask people when they're getting started. This is how I typically close someone. This is the videos that I show people. That's what it really is. I'm not probably the best one to answer to like the rush to any rank, but I can say that if you're really building a solid foundation, and my brother actually said this brilliantly the other day when we were talking about the Start 1000, and he said, my goal was to hit Start 1000 in December of 2014. He said, and I didn't hit it, but I hit it in April. Do you think it was any less sweet because it maybe took me a couple more months? No, but I built that momentum kind of going through the process. So I think like having a goal, having a deadline is amazing. But if you're taking daily consistent action every single day, is it the end of the world? If you like the deadline is July 13th and you hit it July 14th or July 15th, I know you'll miss the bonus, but you'll probably have a really solid foundation. And in my opinion, everything that we go through in this business, the struggles, the missing the things, it's so that way we can teach the people that we bring in. This is what I went through. If it was an easy straight shoot to the top and I had like a really great answer for how everyone can become an executive tomorrow, I would give it. But the reality is I don't, but I know how to walk people through kind of like the emotions that are going to come up, the struggles that you're going to hit, the wall kicking moments that are just so inevitable. And the reason that we're all going through them and the reason I still go through them is because I know that they're just going to help someone else along their journey. So I wish that I had like this great piece of advice that was like, go out there and create executives and you +2 your hearts out. But I really think it's embracing the journey. And I was actually just listening to a podcast today called Mental Journey to Millionaire, something like that. I don't remember the name of it. But he said like surfers are not out there for the result. They're out there for the experience. We're not looking to earn the money for the money, right? It's all about the experience. And I think sometimes we forget about this experience we're going through, the process that we're going through, the journey that we're going through, because we're so focused on the result. And I think if we can fall in love with the journey, the result is inevitable.
That's so good. Oh my gosh, that's so good. And I don't know if you realized Jenny actually called in and joined us a little bit late, that she's on here. So she was texting me a teeny bit. We're just blown away with the things that you're doing.
I still can't see myself. So.
But I don't know if you could see everybody else, even if we couldn't see you. So thank you. Unless there's anything like pouring on your heart that you want to say, the last question actually that Jenny was wanting me to ask is if you could go back and do anything different, what would you do? Or like, what did you not know then that you know now that has really shifted in your business?
I think I kind of already said it, and I think I'm kind of a broken record, but I think that's the beauty of network marketing is like there's nothing new under the sun. It's the same thing over and over again. For me, like truly the greatest lesson I ever learned was, and not just learned, but internalized, because it's different to like hear Lauren say something versus like really internalize what Lauren's saying. And for me, it was understanding it's not about me. Like none of this is about me. And I always say like, the rank advancements are cool. Like it's cool to have stars, but are you happy without the star? Are you happy without the rank advancement? Because it all means nothing if you're not falling in love with this journey. And I really believe like the people who do the best in this are the people that really embrace the process of it. And they really understand like, this is not about me. This is about the girl that's going to sit on my couch tomorrow who said, I'm so done doing what I've been doing and I want to do this the way you're doing it. That's who it's about. My life is not going to significantly change, probably whether she enrolls or not, but her life could massively change. So how could I not have that conversation with her? How could I not? We always talk about like putting ourselves out there, and it's uncomfortable sometimes, but when we really believe it's not about me, it's about those other people. In the same way you said, like if Jenny didn't call you, where would your life be? I can tell you exactly what I would be doing right now. If I never had that conversation with Tara and Alexis, I would be not sitting at my house that's on the beach. I would be sitting behind the bar that I used to work at on the beach, rolling my eyes and probably cursing at customers because I was so miserable and unhappy. But because Tara and Alexis and so many people really believed in me when I didn't believe in myself, I changed the entire trajectory of my life. And I feel like that's what this is about, is pouring that into other people and helping them believe that they can do it. And really just understanding like, I never thought I was going to be I wish you could see me doing quotes, but you can't see me. Like Isogenics Millionaire. That was not in my realm of possibility. I said in the beginning, my realm of possibility was $400 a month. So I feel like really like understanding that when people come in, like sometimes this is scary and it's overwhelming and it's so big and it's so new, and just letting them go through the process and remembering where we came from. Because I think I certainly am guilty of it. When someone gets started, I'm like, let's do this, let's run. It's going to be so fun and it's going to be awesome. And they're like, slow your roll. Like, this is really scary and intimidating. And you want me to post on Facebook and you want me to reach out to all these people. And everybody is saying no to me. And I just want business builders. And like really just remembering like where you started. How long did it take you to say yes? And just Isogenics, like the products. How long did it take you to say yes to the business? We want, like, when our switch goes off, we want everybody's switch to go off with us. And the reality is they have to go through their journey. And sometimes it's going to be shorter than ours, but a lot of the time it's going to be longer, and it's okay. It's just really like meeting people where they are and not having any attachment or anger or resentment when they're not ready to do exactly what we're doing. Because in my opinion, the world just needs more people who love what they're doing, whether it's network marketing or Isogenics or whatever it is. We just need more people who are in love with what they're doing. So just loving people exactly where they are.
Girl, well, you are phenomenal. I know that we kind of reserved this time slot with these people for an hour, and you have just graced us with so much wisdom, so much passion, and I just love that you're raw and real and unfiltered. So when I get the recording, I'm going to send it to you because I hope that your team listens to this as well. It's full of greatness, and Janny and I both, just want you to know how much we appreciate you and how grateful we are for you to take a time out and pour into these people. I'm going to unmute so that they can all say thank you as well. And looking forward to seeing you guys in celebration. And if you do not have your Super Bowl ticket, I suggest you get off this call and purchase it tonight. I'm going to unmute so everyone can say bye to you. Ciji, thank you so much. You are the best.
Oh, thank you, Lauren. I'll see everybody in Vegas. I'm waving, but you can't see me.
I'm going to unmute so they can hear you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Awesome call.
Ciji, you rock. Way to go, girl.
Thank you. I wish you guys could see me waving, but I'm glad that you can't see my dirty hair. So we're all even. Okay. Good night.
Thank you, Ciji from California.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Good night.
Bye, Lauren. Thank you.
Bye, Jenny. Love you.
Love you too.